Welcome back. This is Daybreak and thank you for staying with us. The hashtag on X is Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. The discussion went on after the break here on the broadcast, and we'll sample your feedback in the course of this broadcast. Many thanks for keeping us company here on the broadcast. Yes, Senator, you had a point? Please proceed.
And the point I'm making is, first, I will start with my experience. Ever since I came to the Senate, at the National Assembly, my experience was a bit minimal because you really don't interact with a lot of this audit stuff and a lot of oversight stuff. And you raised an issue with Dr. Alphonse and you asked High Excellency from EACC. For me, there are two things that the Kenyan government or the Kenyan people must decide. Mm-hmm. Whether EACC is actually the outfit that they want to use in managing and dealing with the issues of corruption, and make sure that we are able to give them the necessary tools which they are supposed to have, both legal, constitutional or otherwise, and technological, so that they are actually able to do what they are supposed to. Mm-hmm. Right now, that's nothing. Right now, what they are doing is like how somebody goes to school to go and teach. He has got targets, he teaches, and if the students get B or 320 marks, that's good enough. And number two. She stated, you'll go to point number two, I'll give you the time. She stated the recovery of more than 20 billion in a span, hang on, Senator, in a span of 6 years. Of course, that is just a drop in the ocean. Yes. For the money that, compared to the money that is stolen from the Kenyan people. Then in terms of what's not working, what are the specifications and the areas you think that can be improved upon so that the EACC can do more? Let me start by telling you what President Uhuru said some 3 years ago. He said, according to him, every day 2 billion shillings is stolen. If you take 2 billion shillings times 365 days, 720 billion a year. 720 billion a year. How many years has it taken for them to collect the 23 billion? It has taken them from 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Those are 9 years. In 9 years, averagely, they've been recovering 1.5 billion. But in those 9 years, if you are losing 600 billion shillings a year times 9, you're talking about how much? 54? 5.2 trillion. So what she's talking about, in fact, they should not be earning a salary. Because look at the logic. You know, these days, Yusuf, it is data. And what I'm telling her lordship here is that EACC, I can tell you, you remember we went to Isiolo? Isiolo County, yes. Yes, we are somebody attached to our committee at CPAC. And when we went to Isiolo, when we came back, she was fired. She was transferred from our committee. Why? Because she was not supposed to be there because some people in our office have political interest in sorting some of these things. Until we remove politics and remove personal favors from our friends, EACC means nothing. If you see the number of letters I've written to EACC, and in fact, matters concerning people's lives and death, where 160 workers of Kisii County, a letter is written by the governor's office that these people must be taken to EACC to be fired. Why? These were people working for Kisii County Council. They didn't need degrees to be taken to EACC. So EACC deals with things which are so simplistic, like going out there and arresting a police officer taking a bribe. Why are you arresting a police officer who's taking a bribe? And right now you know, and everything is in public, that Kenyans are taking money to these banks which have got branches in Dubai, and billions of dollars, not shillings, are being siphoned off. Have you heard EACC say, we are talking to the central bank to find out why this money is actually being taken out? Okay, you made your point, Senator. Number two, wait. Okay. Number two, yes. EACC knows all of us. They know Onyonka's car, they know Onyonka's house, they know Onyonka owns this and this. Okay. If they wanted to get everybody's assets today, they will do it because of the technology it's available. Okay. Even your phone. You made your point. Allow me, she will have the right to respond, but allow me to also query what you have said. Getting back to what President Kenyatta said in 2022, that is in January, that was, he said that we are losing 2 billion Kenya shillings a month. A day. A day. Yes. Even if that were to happen, because we have no numerical and the mathematic
prove that that is indeed going out of the public coffers, then it needs the elements within the criminal justice system to work. It's not only the EACC. And you know the other challenge, Senator, and we live in this country, is also the laundry manner in which court cases are pulled out and the prosecution's inability to prosecute cases that are glaringly involving billions of taxpayers' money. Is it not unfair then to have...
Can I ask you a question?
Is it not unfair then, Senator, to blanketly condemn the EACC?
I was saying, if you had left me to come to point number 2, what I was going to say, Ayuba, you asked a fantastic question, and I hope I'll come there. What I am saying is very simple. Ask her the cases which they have taken to court on corruption. Ask her how many they have lost in the last 3 years.
Okay, she will respond.
Look at the amounts of money that we have lost by them. And you know what that case is all about? Faulty investigations, wrongful presentation of evidence, and blah and blah. I'm not talking about Kimwarer, Aror, and all that stuff. I'm not going there. The reality is Kenyans have to decide, and I want to be very clear here. I don't want it to look that I am being personal with her or with EACC. Kenyans have to decide whether we are going to take this institution that has got good intentions so that we actually make it functional, so that it does its job, so that if Richard Onyonka has been found to be stealing public money, he's held to account.
All right. And then where then in this equation?
And then you cascade it now to the gentleman who's supposed to take me to court if I'm found guilty, the DPP.
Yes.
To make sure that the DPP is also got a department and it's funded properly with individuals who are well qualified to run that. And then you make sure that you are able to get judges so that the legal system from down up, first of all, must be seen to be fair and just.
You made your question. Dr. Jasangun, let me give Faith the right of reply to respond to some of the submissions made by Senator Onyonka. Yes, please.
Thank you. Ayub, Senator started on a very good footing when he said, well, we have an institution here. Does it have the adequate tools to fight corruption? Will it be legal, institutional, or even financial? Yeah. Does EACC have adequate tools? Because we have seen even from the reports and even the conversation we're having here that corruption is prevalent in the country. We have, the country, the population is maybe slightly above 50 million people. We have many public institutions. How many police officers do we have? Over maybe 20,000 or thereabout. As EACC, as an institution right now, currently, we have officers, 750 officers, who are supposed to investigate, that is both technical and also support, who are supposed to investigate corruption and assist 50 million 50 million Kenyans in seeing that good governance and the services are offered as adequately, as they expect. That is institutional capacity. Let's go to legal. We have laws. We have the Leadership and Integrity Act, which is the one which is after the Chapter 6 of the Constitution, basically to actualize the Constitution, Chapter 6. The Leadership and Integrity Act is the governance manual, or the ones which is supposed to govern how state officers and public officers are supposed to conduct themselves. The act was enacted in 2012. It went to Parliament. But Ayub, and it's in public domain, it's on record, what went to Parliament and what came out are two different laws. Reason being, who are the targets? You know, it's like taking your sheep somewhere where you know there's a leopard. You know, who are the targets? Who are making these laws? The laws are targeted to state officers and public officers. Will they really make those laws as tight as possible to curb corruption? Definitely, it's human nature, where you know if it is affecting me, I'll try as much as possible to reduce or to dilute the effect it's going to be on me. Secondly, there's a conflict of interest bill, which has been pending in Parliament for a very long time. and there have been conversations.
Okay.
And that is to address basically even public officers and state officers doing business with government, and the issue of disclosure and the issue of procurement. Because we find the losses that the government incurs mostly are procurement based, because government is big business.
Okay.
And the government does not offer services or goods to itself. It procures from other independent, private individuals. And that is where corruption is, and that is where money is lost. So are those laws tight enough? Have we done memoranda trying to see how we can strengthen the laws? We have, as EACC, through the Office of the Auditor General.
Okay.
And but there's a gap. Now, let's go to the third tool that we want to talk about, financial. When it comes, we know the country is going through a lot of financial, maybe constraints because of their loans and all the other things. I don't have the data to support that.
Yep.
It's what is in the public domain.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. So, EACC, in terms of financial capacity, budget, do we have the capacity to even, one, for operations, secondly, to employ adequate number of staff to deal with all the reports that we get. We get over 10,000 reports, and I appreciate what the senator says. He's written letters, and many other Kenyans have. But do we have the capacity in terms of human resource to deal with all those reports that are coming to us?
Okay.
So maybe it looks like we have done maybe a drop in the ocean, but with what we have, you measure what we have.
Yeah.
We can do more.
Okay.
If we are resourced more.
Okay.
And we actually go over and above, let's say 100% with what we have to give service to Kenyans.
Okay.
There's also the aspect of, allow me to just say something about
briefly.
The gentleman, my right, said about culture and the software. EACC, as the other arm of fighting corruption, is prevention and education. And what we have done, we have gone to primary schools and established what we call Adili clubs, where we have a patron. The way we have many clubs in schools for various environment, tourism and such.
Okay.
We have Adili clubs so that we can start inculcating these values into children as they are growing up in schools. Secondly, we also have, we are also working to see how the curriculum can incorporate issues of integrity, of values, of principles, like to break down even the Constitution to the pupil. Article 10, when you talk about national values and principles of governance, what are we talking about? And with that child now relate to what our Constitution, our laws, and other issues, governance issues.
Thank you. Sonia Aima, in the whole of this discussion, how then do you fit in? Where is your voice?
Our voice is to ensure that citizens are able to articulate the issues that come out and, in sense, push to ensure there's accountability and transparency in everything. At TISA, what we really do is push for social accountability in every aspect. And as he said, leadership is from where you are. Like at the family level, who's pushing to make sure things are being done as they should at the community level. For example, with the projects that we do, we encourage even citizens to ask, why is my street lighting not lighting as it should? Because there's money in the budget every financial year that there should be lights. We have street lights, why are they not working? Is the money being even removed? Is the money being used? And who is taking the money? So it's literally trying to get accountability from the lower point. We look at the institutions as we are doing right now. And there are issues, there are challenges that they have. Then we try and look at it from our perspective in the programming that we do. How do we ensure that citizens who are part of the problem also get to be part of the solution? How do we push and make sure that the citizens put enough pressure? And that's why I'm giving reference to the street light. That's the next immediate thing next to me. When we talk about the issues out here, it's big, it's not next to me. But in my place, why is my drainage not working? In Syokimau, when it rains, it's crazy. So it's those things. And I think even us as accountability champions, we're trying to ensure that we live by the principles that we advocate for every day and ensure that people see. Unfortunately, as we talk about, part of our programs tries to tap into the Adili clubs that she's talking about. But then again, this young girl or young boy that we're trying to inculcate transparency and accountability, integrity principles, watches their TV every day and sees their leader, who they know. My son only knows the president. What's their leader? And their leader has been brought on TV because of doing 1, 2, 3. But the next day, he's elected. What does that put in the mind of that child?
Okay.
Does it mean in Kenya I have to do something wrong? I have to steal money? Then I become the next MP, who now becomes the governor, and then can shoot for president.
Okay, that is an entire line of probably very wanting credentials in assuming the leadership of the country. Yes, Dr. Alphonse, you had a point, please. My
question was, as Senator was saying, what do we do? How do we deter personal interest and power abuse from our colleagues, our good colleagues from this team of EACC? How do we make sure that they don't preach water and take wine from there? Now, as we develop there, then the other question, do we have a rating system that we rate EACC? Because I'm old enough to know that we have had a number of directors come and go, come and go, come and go. How much are we really operating? Is it possible, as we say in Swahili, fisi akiwa hakimu, mbuzi ana haki? Is it not an issue of maybe fisi ni hakimu lakini mbuzi? And then we just come up and say, yesterday we did this, and now we are doing this. What percentage? What level? How do we make that place better? How do we make it really become servers? For example, we prayed for rains to come in this country, and then the rains came. After the rains came, EACC, this team were there. And then somebody comes, and we are told, if it is true or not, that somebody has messed up with the seed. Somebody has messed up with the manure. Was EACC there? Because like these are dumb thing to do, difficult thing to do. You can't believe it, that God has blessed us with the rains, and we are looking for our future generation. We are looking for food. We have been crying for food, and now there is rain. We are supposed to plant, and the EACC, they are looking at us. They are going for that person in Nakuru for that land, and somebody has messed up with the manure here. Somebody has messed up with the seed. Okay. So tomorrow is challenged. What's the next course of action?
Senator, before you get your point, because I wanted us to move to the next now, of course, on the prosecution of graft. Yes, please. Finish up on that, because I have a question.
Thank you. The question Dr. Alphonse has said is that, and I was telling Madam Faith that please engage your teams at EACC and tell them it is only a show of good faith for your organizations, because you have targets, you have been given responsibilities, and you are supposed to perform in a certain manner. I feel that you are actually doing, as legislators or even indeed as Kenyans, that you're doing your job. It does not hurt for you to have an external auditor to audit you, so that he can then go out and find out how all of you who work at EACC, how you've been managing yourselves, whether you have also been receiving this corruption money, whether you have also been abdicating on your responsibilities. Number two, I can tell you this, if your teams in your office would look for members of our committee, for example, and you came and said the reason why we want more money during the budget, because I also sit in the budget committee. I mean, our country is a country that has got incredible contradictions, Yusuf. When last we went to meet, during the Shakahola, we went to meet members of the DCI.
Yes.
And we went to the head office. And we sat. And you know what they told us? The only amount of money we receive from you people is 12 billion shillings every year. We have got 47 branches right now. We have got about 4,800 employees. We don't have vehicles which have got fuel. We have nothing. Our technology, you people think that even the forensics, which are supposed to be done, we don't even have the chemicals. And then we asked them, have you ever even come to our committee to tell us that you need this money they still believe that it is the president who gives them money. And this is a point I'm making with yourselves also. Come to our committee, the budget. Right now is when we are doing our policy budget, BPS.
Yes.
This is the time when you people need to come and ask us for money, and you see whether we can say no. But you have to tell us what targets you are going to achieve. Number two, the argument you've made about you being only 700 of you is not very good. Let me tell you why. Out of the 40 million people you are talking about that you are supposed to serve, if you look at the main corruption dealers, they can't be more than 1 million. If you look at the big dealers, you just see the big cars we drive, you see the big houses we live in. The poor people are not corrupt. Those ones are getting something small to survive. If you targeted us as the ruling class and elite, we will fear. Right now, we fear you no way. Why? Because when you come to arrest us, if I've written the letter, I give you the briefcase, you go away with it. That is how EACC is known. So make us believe that most of you mean well, that there are few of you who we know deal like that. But please, come and tell us that if you are given this, what are your targets and what will you achieve?
Okay, Senator, let's now get into the next course of action, because the EACC can only act up to a certain point. Then there's another institution that can take over the cases. Then the matter ends up before a court of law. Our courts of law are courts of evidence, and they dispense justice based on the threshold of evidence presented before the courts of law. So let me read you this ruling by Professor Nixon Sifuna on the concerned manner in which the ODPP, the Director of Public Prosecutions, has been withdrawing cases from courts or terminating some.
Thank you.
To quote him, he said, "This is not only unorthodox, but also a vice that prosecutors need to urgently start disabusing themselves of. Regrettably, this practice is increasingly gaining notoriety and becoming fashion in Kenya's prosecution. The ruling should be clamped down on that practice. The laundry manner of prosecution practice that is steadily, undesirably, and notoriously taking root in Kenya is disturbing." Then from the EACC, it then means that, going by your submissions, that the criminal justice system is not up to the game in fighting this vice that we are discussing here this morning. How can this be sorted out?
I will answer you this way. When I started talking here, I said, it is the leadership of this country that is going to decide whether politics and corruption are going to go together, for the simple reason that this ruling elite is part of the benefiting class and entities from this corruption, or it is for the elite and the ruling class to come up and say, we will have EACC funded and they've got targets and they're doing a good job. We will have a judiciary that we have international best practice. We have had cases where the EACC of South Africa, who are known as the Scorpions, who are the people who discovered that Jacob Zuma had been captured by the state with a gentleman of Indian descent who lived in London. It was the Scorpions. You know of a fella in West Africa and Nigeria who actually took over the presidency and showed how the presidency was impacting on commercial banks and basically how money laundering was taking place. There have been cases in Africa where we have examples where people of good faith, once they are given the mandate and they are given support by the National Assembly, by the Senate of that country, and by the leadership of that country, they will achieve the results. So in Kenya, you can't fix EACC and you don't fix DPP. You can't fix DPP and you don't fix the courts. You can't fix the courts without looking at what is at the Supreme Court and what is the position the Supreme Court will take in case all these constitutional issues are going to be raised when you are actually going to start attacking this vice. And these are the issues to me that are for us on the next level.
And one thing that, even if we were to look at the next level, Honorable Senator, that we can't run away from is also the problem caused by the leadership in this country. For example, the Mbeere North MP, Geoffrey Ruku, is seeking to decriminalize the procurement-related graft offences to be punished through administrative action as opposed to prosecution. And this, according to the EACC and well-meaning Kenyans who are fighting against corruption, is retrogressive against the fight against graft.
Let him bring it. We'll see whether it will pass.
You don't support it?
I will not support it. Why should I? In fact, even I know it really sounds a bit weird for it to come from me. We need to look at how even us, the senators, the governors, and the members of parliament, members of the county assembly, even the presidency, how we behave. This thing is getting out of hand. People are stealing money for medicines. People are stealing money that is supposed to do water. People are stealing billions of shillings for bursary money. We are raising issues. Why do we have a bursary that is being run by a member of parliament, that is being run by the women rep, that is being run by the national government, and all these bursaries are being given to the same people, and nobody has a list on who's getting these bursaries? You see, why do we behave like that? I mean, it's like some banana republic, you know, like Haiti, you know, Jamaica, you know, those places where people don't care. You find yourself in London and you leave and you go on. Now we are rushing to Dubai. I mean, I can tell her, she works at EACC. The first thing you arrive in Dubai, when you go to a place you are eating and you find Kenyans, they tell you, Nani has bought 46 units, each was 500,000 USD. Huh? Oh yeah, and we can go, you know, Sharjah. Let's go to Sharjah. I'll show you how one of your governors, he came the other day. Hey, boss, you should see his house, boss. $2 million.
That's global.
I mean, I am getting this in a restaurant in Dubai. You want to tell me EACC can't follow this money?
Okay. Are they aware?
Just to check, even to embarrass the guy, even to just come and shame you and say you could earn money from Kenya, we can't prosecute you, but we know you spent $2 million.
Okay, she will tell us more about how it's going beyond the borders as well.
Yeah.
But Soita, coming to you, we have a problem because the other aspect is the wastage that is reported by the Auditor General, the Public Accounts Committee where the Senator sits, the Controller of Budget, and these are critical voices who yesterday when they spoke during day 2 of the Wage Bill Conference at the Bomas of Kenya equally talked about this. What more or less appears to be also the devolution of nepotism and corruption from the center to the counties, because ideally we want to devolve resources and power to be near the people, but with that also is nepotism and corruption. Yes. And there are polling reports by the Auditor General. For example, the governor who was before you, the Marsabit County governor, unable at pains to explain how he could not account for money that was given to the county by the exchequer. You went to Isiolo County, the governor wasn't there. You fined him 500,000 Kenya shillings. The chairperson had spoken
about that. He closed the offices.
Yep.
He got goons to come to the streets.
Yep.
Those goons were supposed to throw stones at us. I mean,
so then given the picture I have painted, I mean, it seems we are deeply in the waters, and how then are we going to swim out? What are the responsibilities you bear as a social accountability institute in this regard and this conversation?
Thank you, Ayub. I agree, and I totally believe that we devolved corruption and every other thing that comes with it. Because we look at, and I think it's because they learned from the best. Most of these people came from national and came to the counties. And you find that most of the things that happens at the national has just trickled down to more devolved units. So we have 47 levels of corruption.
Yes.
47 hospitals plus that needs to be built that are avenues for stealing. And in terms, most of the times when we do our programs, there's also the question of why is it that most projects are development projects, like ya kujenga, construction.
Mjengo.
Why do we need to do that? While there's a mama who just needs something, the next mama mboga needs some small allocation to build and grow their businesses. These are things that we don't see. So when we talk about the reports that we constantly hear, and I think at this point, the institutions need to develop some level of very simplified information so that citizens can also engage and understand. Because it's not a shock that most of the people who we've elected don't even understand these documents. At TISA, we basically do our work based on those documents, because you cannot do anything without any recommendation. So most of the time, we have engagements with the two offices, COB and OAG, and we find them talking about, please tell the citizens to push. Where we are, it's like you're going to your father, who's giving you money, ideally, and then you want to report your father to who? But if me, who's a citizen, we start having opportunities when we talk about public participation bill. Why is it not even passing? What's the issue? She talked about the Leadership and Integrity Act having mentioned 2 different things that came out. We are taking our bills and assuming that the people in power are going to put our interest first. But ideally, most of the people who get to power have their interest first. Yours just comes as a by the way.
Yeah.
And that's why many developing countries like Kenya, we are struggling because everyone is trying to, there's the level of poverty that makes you are running away from it. So when I get a seat, an MCA, what is it am I going to do? How is my village going to turn? How is the next relative of mine going to get a job?
Yes.
So it's never about there's the citizen who elected me so that they may have their issues represented.
Even your children.
Well, my children.
Yeah.
You see where the interest, he throws my child and I'm confused because that's an interest. So I'm looking at us as accountability partners, people who advocate for social accountability, is making citizens take back the power that the Constitution has given them. Sovereignty power belongs to me. Sovereignty power belongs to you. However, we have given indirect power to our representatives to represent us. But we have the power to take it back and say, you're not doing the right thing. This is not what I sent you to do. I sent you to advocate for my rights. Why am I seeing your son driving the latest car, yet he's not employed? Your salary is this amount. Where is the rest coming from? How do we get citizens to get that angry, to be able to ask those questions, not just to the MCA, even the ward rep?
Okay, but Sonia, well-made point, but here comes the critical question before I come to Dr. Alphonse. We have given unto ourselves one of the beautiful sets of law, Katiba 2010, that even establishes when we go to elections, after how long. And the Kenyan people have all the sovereign power to deliberately put in offices leaders they think can serve the interests of this country. If the problems you pointed out are glaring, we have seen them happen.
True.
The lack of competency, meritocracy being shelved, qualifications no longer matter, it's connections, who you know in every sphere. Then why are the Kenyan people also laissez-faire in all this affair and are part of the bandwagon of those who represent us, and doesn't the failure then have that blanket effect of representing a society that is altogether rotten?
Or those who want to eat.
In fact, most Kenyans are waiting for an opportunity to eat. Because you've gotten to a point where there's nothing I can do. We call it apathy. You've tried, you've been told, whenever we go to communities to even talk about social accountability, they ask us, Kama EACC can do nothing. Who am I? But then we remind them, you can start small. Start where you are. Make change. But then again, you look at this issue of, I think we need to get to a point, and I like what you said, Mhesh, we are the problem. Even the citizens, we are part of the problem. And brings us to, he speaks about religion a lot, and it brings some noise in my ear. I feel like I need to go back to religion, but we can't talk about it. But how do we rewind or just go back to identifying these are the values that we stand by?
Thank you.
And inculcate those values to a point that this child who's growing, who we're expecting to be the next leader, will not live to counterparts of our Mheshimiwa here who are doing things outrightly without fear. Okay.
Dr. Alphonse, there is also one element that is that's always embodied in this conversation, the Mtuetu syndrome and the politicization of the war against this vice. I mean, it seems then that besides the laws and the need for accountability in terms of bringing to book those who steal from the Kenyan people, we also need a mind shift, and a complete mind shift for that matter. When do you think that takeover can be effectively addressed? And who are the players who can do that? And how can we achieve it all together?
we begin. Number one, for we to be able to deal with this issue, we must zero it down to individual heart as individuals. And then we must go to self-investigation. And then we must acknowledge that it's a monster. And this can only be done by a multidimensional group of individuals, not from outside, but from within. Because we can't write lamentation book throughout. We cannot just read lamentation 24/7. We must come back to Chronicles and then be able to accept now. Despite lamenting, is it possible, number one, for you to go to self-investigation? Those people who talk about the heart issues, should they come up and help us? Self-investigation before you go to group investigation.
Yeah.
And then not only that, come back to acknowledgement that this is a monster. Then develop a way out of this monster. How do we deal with this? Mtu wetu is simply a selfish idea. Just as I said, leadership is an opportunity to serve.
Okay.
And if you have been given opportunity to serve, you have been given opportunity to serve a community. And you are not being given opportunity to serve your own mom and your grandmom and your own brother and sister. And so when it is seen, you have a problem. As she says, I think my colleagues are saying the truth. The truth is, if you find this individual who has owned a house in Kithurai, but when he becomes a cabinet minister, the following day, he's within my neighborhood with a house of 250 million.
Which is 16 bedrooms.
And where I live, I bought that space, 6 million, when I was working. And it has taken me at my age, some 15 years to build that house. And my neighbor, somebody has come, he has bought that property, which is 56 million in Karen, and he has put up a house. Is it really possible? And this man is 35 years.
Okay.
Where is EACC? So where do we begin? Yeah, self-investigation.
Yeah.
Realize there's a monster. Come back to my team, to God. And coming back to God does not mean that we are holy. I said it's a school of sinners.
Yeah.
And the fact that, too, she's looking at me wondering, the fact that it's a school of sinners, the fact that one person failed exam does not mean we go to school. We don't go to school. We still go to school. And the school is the good books.
Correct.
The Quran and the Bible. To get out.
Okay, Charity, I'll come to you because Faith has also, she hasn't spoken for some time. And of course, the right, because you had pointed out some important leads that may help the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to also look beyond the Kenyan borders. And Faith, this is a transnational crime. And the 2022 Panama Papers revealed big names in this country and money stashed out of Kenya to haven accounts where, for example, the countries, as mentioned by Senator Richard Onyonka. What then is your reach in terms of also keeping an eye and being hawk-eyed also, for that matter, as to the money that is getting out of the Kenyan market?
Wow. The law allows us, under the Mutual Legal Assistance Act, to go and seize properties or assets that have been stashed abroad. However, there are riders to it. For it to, that law to apply, one, there's the principle of reciprocity. For instance, we are talking about Dubai. Dubai, do we have a bilateral agreement in terms of reciprocity for return or confiscation or seizure of illegal assets which have been stashed there? Then the other issue is on the issue of dual criminality. If what we are alleging here is money laundering, for instance, in Kenya, it's an offense under the Proceeds of Crime and Anti-Money Laundering Act. In Dubai, is money laundering an offense? So do they term whatever is going in there as proceeds of crime? And if they don't, from their laws, it's not criminal. For them, they are looking for investors. If it's not criminal, then there's no way they can work with us as a Kenyan government to return those assets. And we have seen in cases where in countries where we have reciprocity or we have bilateral agreement, we are able to return back the money. For instance, the Switzerland and other European Union countries, because they are so keen on the issue of money laundering. You know why these islands are called safe havens, like Panama, Jersey, Dubai, because they know once they put their money there, there is no law that allows any other jurisdiction, including America. America cannot follow money in Dubai. There's no reciprocity. There is no dual criminality. What Dubai, and I'm not castigating anything, as we are looking for investors, come invest your money. How you got the money, that is your business. Now, coming here within now in our country, we have oversight authorities. We have central bank, which oversights all the transactions of the bank. We have the financial reporting center, that is the FRC, which checks on how monies are moving. But if I'm to keep money, the bribes or the kickbacks I've received under my mattress or in a safe in my house, and go to these forex bureaus, which are more or less, some operate under the radar of the regulatory authorities, who then will be able to reach that money. Then I and my children travel to Dubai, each has $10,000, and we go and deposit there and purchase whatever we are purchasing. You know, so it's a whole chain, and there are difficulties, and that is what brings complexity when it comes to investigation of corruption offenses.
Thank you.
Because you'll not find a smoking gun. You'll not find a knife with the blood on it for you to go and do DNA and find out who was holding this knife. You get, it is underhand, is done, and more often than not, what we receive as a report is for those who have been, when you're Merukwa, you know, it was a deal, but we agreed with the doctor here that we are going to do this, but he didn't meet his side of the bargain, and I'm disgruntled. And that's when I'll come with a confidential intelligence.
And blow the whistle.
And blow the whistle.
Thank you.
Allow me to talk
let her finish, and then we sample the feedback.
Allow me
I give
to
you
talk
the,
about leadership, because it's something.
Briefly, okay.
Yeah, briefly. We have leaders, elected leaders, and elected leaders are the ones who are going ahead to appoint or nominate people within the government, public service, and I mean national government and also county government. What kind of leaders did we elect? In 2022, EACC vetted 252 leaders and forwarded the names to IEBC and said, we have this against these reports, they have ongoing court cases, we are investigating these 250. And from our perspective, the Chapter 6 and Leadership and Integrity Act, they are not suitable to be cleared to vie for the position that they are vying. And IEBC has a mandate to clear or not to clear. As is for us is advisory. We advise. This is the position. But then, now there's the other end. Okay, IEBC clears. Now, Mwananchi is there with their vote. Wanjiku is there, Atieno is there with their vote. And they know this leader, MCA or whoever was the local that they are doing whatever they were doing. Know this MP has even matters in court. Knows this governor was carrying money in sacks.
And ends up electing him.
But they still go ahead and almost unanimously vote them in.
Thank you. Well noted. Let's now sample the feedback, and then afterwards I give you the final round, starting with Senator Onyonka. Here's what you are saying on X, that is formerly Twitter. The hashtag is Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. Engineer Lazaro says war on corruption being used as a political tool to tame opponents. That's why always cases ends up in stalemate. Why detectives only targeting officials from previous regime and professional looters in this regime are treated with kids' gloves. Evans Wanyela says corruption has now officially become an economic activity and a sanitizer to all the wrongs happening in society. We need change, but who can change this? It's me and you. If I can be appointed. I will deal with corruption once and for all. Well, yeah, we have one.
That guy a job.
And Amaganga Mustaf says the generation of corrupt vultures in our government offices is fading away with the new constitution, and well-educated group that is joining government. Semi-literates in government offices have merchandised the act as a voice of reason. Wale Shonko says, I think this EACC is just a fat joke, he says, according to his opinion, doing almost nothing in fighting corruption. In fact, they are the most corrupt institution in Kenya. The judiciary is corrupt, executive, parliament, and many institutions in Kenya. That's the reality. Heads have to roll. Team Kenya says EACC knows corrupt departments. Why are those corruption dealers still working there? Act or we stop talking. Investigating agencies have ruined our land. If budget for roads is 98 billion and we lose 52 billion in corruption, do you expect development? Dixon _Oluoch says the unfortunate thing is that Kenya audit reports just remain audit. In some countries, audit report immediately picked up by the DPP and courts for action. Sanixon Dugure says a lesson, yes, on corruption should be introduced in our learning institutions from the lowest grade as an awareness and participation-based approaches. Tender brains will get it very fast and permanently head corruption from early stages. Frank Orinde says our main undoing in dealing with corruption is the lack of political goodwill. Today, we are seeing all the high-profile corruption cases being dropped because perpetrators are in good books with the regime. Until we drop our person mantra, corruption is here to stay. Olum Justice says corruption has been fully normalized in this country at all levels. There is massive bribery for service delivery, bribes to win government tenders, and bribes to secure jobs. Meritocracy is never a consideration in this country. Honorable Lilian Seyo says, if you look keenly at the plans President William Ruto has for this country, you will understand that he wants a better Kenya for all. Those engaging in corruption should be given certificates of saboteurs of progress and face the law. Odongo Rolex says, talking about the elephant in the room, corruption, which way forward do you have to deal with it in the government tenders, considering the government interest? And the last one here comes from Esau. He says corruption is a major issue. Accepting 50 during campaigns without questioning their origin leads to billions lost daily. Change requires the will of Kenyans to build a better future. Let's start questioning the wealth of those who suddenly have become rich, as Dr. Alphonse Kanga had pointed out. We are out of time, Senator.
Yes.
Can I say
and
one word?
There's another show coming up.
I'll just say one word.
Briefly.
First of all, I want to thank you for having introduced this topic. I want to tell Dr. Alphonse that even the church, you are in the same team. I want to thank my young sister here, Sonia. It's wonderful to see young people who are beginning to engage themselves about on these issues and where our country is right now. I think we've already talked about the issues of EACC. I didn't want to respond on her arguments that she has made. The general feeling, and this is something I hold dearly now, I've noticed that unless in this country some few individuals deliberately begin to talk about these issues and actually say what they mean and mean what they say, I hope that Ayuba will not be brought into this TV station of yours where somebody is printing her, I've stolen 150 million. If I get it, I'll most probably give it to charity anyway. Thank you, sir.
And I hope not to cover you.
No, but I'll ask you to say the truth.
I always do.
Yes. I will not answer him for now because we have no time.
Yes.
But what I want, I'll answer him tomorrow in the next session. But I wanted to say, what's happening in the country, we pray. We pray for the standoff of the doctors and the government. It must be resolved.
Thank you.
And the government should pay doctors. The government has money.
We'll have another day for that discussion. Sonia Aima is the Program Officer, Public Accountability at the Social Institute of Social Accountability. Faith Ngede is the Assistant Director, Assets Recovery at the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. Dr. Alphonse Kanga is the Regional Chair, the National Council of Churches of Kenya, and Senator Richard Onyonka represents Kisii County and a member of the Instrumental Public Accounts Committee. Ladies and gentlemen, lovely to have you. And we'll have you again on this very same discussion so that we talk to the Kenyan people.
Thank you.
Up next is Safina Chengoma with Health and Lifestyle. We'll see you on Friday. Till then, good morning.